There are over 150 named locations in Fortnite history, and I'm about to rank every single one from worst to best. Obviously, this video is meant to be my 50,000 subscriber special, so thank you to everyone who has tuned into my videos and has subscribed along the way. I really appreciate it. You guys make a big difference, and if you guys think this video is crazy, wait until you see what I have planned for 100K, so make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not already, and let's get there. Also, an absolute massive thank you to anybody who submitted thumbnail ideas for this video. I saw every single email and the support was amazing. It really kind of warmed my heart, so thank you so much for that. But shout out to Shifty Styles, as I decided to go with this thumbnail for this video. And so shout out for all the hard work to everybody you put in, but specifically Shifty, so thank you. But let's get into some parameters for this video, right? I'm going to be ranking over 150 named locations, so I got to be pretty specific by what I am ranking them by. So in no specific order, the amount of chests or loot that you can find at this location, as well as this, if it has a boss, and if that boss drops a mythic weapon that is good, that will make a big difference. As well as this, the physical location on the map. So obviously locations that are on the outskirts are most of the time less desirable to land at than locations that are central to the map where you don't have to run to zone that often. As well as this, I think the uniqueness slash atmosphere of the location is a big deal. And finally, just how easy is it to loot? Obviously, locations with a lot of verticality, like the Spire or something, are a lot harder to loot than something like, I don't know, Retail Row, where it's just the same house over and over again. This list will not include any locations from Fortnite Reload. I know I had a couple questions about that. And the same POI from different chapters will count as one unless they are fundamentally different. So something like Pleasant Park, right, versus Doom's Domain. They are at the core the same POI, but Doom's Domain changes it up enough to be its own location. Also, Tyler from editing here, I actually forgot Fort Jonesy, Believer Beach, and Shattered Slabs on this list, so I'm sorry if you're a fan of those three locations. I might have missed a couple more, so if I missed any, be sure to let me know in the comments. But honestly, I think that's the end of this long intro. Just make sure to use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop when you can. This video took me so many hours of work. And yeah, let's just get this intro over with. I'm sure you guys want to get into the ranking. At number 153, in my opinion, the worst location in Fortnite history, it is Greasy Grove, but the Taco Time version from Season X. What an absolute nightmare for a location. If you guys don't know, every like 30 seconds or something like that, it would just come on your screen saying it's taco time, and everybody would drop their weapons, everything, and just start dancing for like 10 seconds. Absolutely ridiculous, should never have been in the game, and easily the worst location in Fortnite history. But very close to that, at 152, is Moisty Palms, again, another Season X location. Moisty Mire's a decent location, Paradise Palms is a great location, so you would think you would combine them, it would be good, right? Until you land here and you realize that every single time you crouch, you are turned into a prop. You cannot build, you cannot shoot, you just turn into like a chair or something. Again, just another absolutely ridiculous mechanic that just, I landed at Moisty Palms one time and never landed here ever again. Also, I'm just going to say it now, if I spent like a minute talking about every single location on this list, we'd be here for hours, so there are some locations that I'm just going to briefly skip by, but you will hear their name be mentioned. At number 151 is Dusty Depot. Look, let's put the nostalgia aside here. Dusty Depot has absolutely nothing going for it besides its location. In every other aspect that I'm ranking these locations by, Dusty Depot is bottom of the barrel. It's got like, I don't know, 5 or 6 chests max. Once the nostalgia wears off, you'll realize Dusty Depot was extremely, extremely bad. At number 150 is Rickety Rig, at 149 is Haunted Hills, and at 148 is Coral Castle, otherwise known as Carl, right? And so Coral Castle had a lot of problems. I think the idea was there. It was a really cool idea, but horribly executed. You were like in this big pit of water. Terrible physical location on this map. I mean, just not a desirable place to land at all. At number 147 is Tomato Town. Again, another one of the OG Fortnite locations, one of the first ones ever added into the game, and yeah, it was quite honestly horrible. If you don't count the bridge next to Tomato Town, I think there was a max of 4 chests that could spawn here. Yeah, I don't think I need to say anything else. Also, in case you're not familiar with the lingo, POI means point of interest. It's just another word for named location. At number 146 is Holly Hatchery. I actually do like Holly Hedges a lot, but what they did with Holly Hatchery is they made each house inside of a zero gravity zone. It just made for terrible looting, terrible fights. I absolutely hated Holly Hatchery, and I think a lot of other people did too. At 145 is the Joneses, at 144 is Naughty Nets from Chapter 4, and at 143 is Loot Lake. And yeah, down goes another OG Fortnite location. I mean, especially back in the day when you couldn't swim, Loot Lake was a nightmare to get to, and really all you had was that house in the middle with a couple of chests. That's basically what Loot Lake was. Way too spread out. I mean, the third parties here were terrible, and honestly, its only advantage is just being right next to Tilted Towers. At 142 is Flush Factory, at 141 is Junk Junction, and at number 140 is Wailing Woods. And yeah, down go 3 more OG Fortnite locations. I don't really know what they were doing back then. Wailing Woods is literally only good for one thing, and that is to farm materials for a skybase. It became a little bit better once the cabin in the middle got the update where it added the whole underground area, but even with that, this is an extremely bad location to drop at. And moving on to number 139, that's going to be Stealthy Stronghold. At 138 is Shuffled Shrines. At 137 is Shimmering Shrine, which I'm pretty sure is just the Chrome version of it. At number 136 is the Reality Tree, and at number 135 is the Spire from Chapter 2, Season 6. You guys all know how much I hate Chapter 2, Season 6, and the Spire is one of the reasons I hate this season. This was meant to be like the central location of the map, the go-to spot in this season, and in my opinion, totally flopped. I hate these super vertical locations. They make the fights an absolute nightmare, and yeah, I can't stand the Spire. At number 134 is Rumble Ruins from Chapter 4. You'll probably see later on in this video that I am not a big fan at all of the jungle themes from Chapter 1 and Chapter 4. Rumble Ruins, it's just kind of boring, like it's bland. It's just all these huge pieces of shrubbery. You can hide super easily. It's just a nightmare to fight here. I don't know. I just don't like it. At number 133 is Lonely Lodge. At 132 is Sunny Steps. And at 131 is Weeping Woods from Chapter 2. So I actually do believe that Weeping Woods is like slightly better than Wailing Woods, but not by that much. It does have a good amount of chests there, at least compared to Wailing Woods, and it's in a much better location. At number 130 is Redline Rig, at 129 is Tomato Temple, and at 128 is Moisty Mire. I think some people are going to be upset by my Moisty Mire pick here. I mean, let's be honest, this location only got good once they added the movie set in Season 4. Even with the addition of the movie set, it is a super bland location, not a ton of chests. It's super spread out and open, and is located all the way in the corner of the map. The only advantage you get is really having the prison closely nearby. Yeah, I take those nostalgia glasses off, guys. All right, those were some down bad, like horrendous locations. Now I think we're getting into some like serviceable locations, locations that are never going to be your main drop spot, but when you rotate into them, you can find some good loot here. At number 127 is Synapse Station, and at 126 is Boney Burbs. So I could be wrong here, but if my memory serves me right, Boney Burbs was Chapter 2 Season 6's version of Tilted Towers. It had like some of the similar buildings like Clock Tower, but they were all like old primal looking, right? I really don't know what to say. I don't like Chapter 2 Season 6, and I think this is the worst iteration of Tilted Towers we've ever seen. At number 125 is Leaky Lake. I do actually really like Leaky Lake for its storyline edition, but again, just a terribly open location in the dead center of the map. It's got okay loot, but it's really not that much better than Loot Lake. Moving on to number 124, that's going to be Pressure Plant. At number 123 is Camp Cuddle. At 122 is Creaky Compound. At 121 is Classy Courts. I believe that's our first Chapter 5 location on here. And at 120 is Sludgy Swamp, and 119 is Dusty Divot. Again, I think this is another choice that not a lot of people are going to like. I think Dusty Divot is a significant increase over Dusty Depot. You get the great materials, and the actual buildings itself are really easy and straightforward to loot. I mean, it's basically just the same building copy and pasted a couple times, but the amount of loot is terrible, and the third parties are brutal at Dusty Divot. Anyways, on to number 118, that's Rebel's Roost. At 117 is Shady Stilts, and 116 is the Collider. If my memory serves me correctly, the Collider was only in the game for 19 days. That being said, you have a ton of chests, you have great mobility here, there's launch pads everywhere, there's cannons, and it's also important to the storyline, so I'll give it that. At 115 is Grim Gables, and at 114 is Sandy Steps. And coming up down the pipe, I have 4 locations that are all essentially the same. I just put them all back to back. At 113, that's Logjam Junction. At 112, that's Logjam Lotus. At 111, that's Chrome Jam Junction. And at 110 is Logjam Lumberyard. I really do not understand what they're doing here. They literally took 4 locations, put chrome in one of them, put flowers in another. They're literally all fundamentally the same location. And to be quite honest with you, I wasn't a fan of any of them. At number 109 is the Fortress, and at 108 is Dirty Docks. Dirty Docks is one of those locations that I really was praying they would not bring back to the Chapter 2 remix map. They did. I don't think any people land at Dirty Docks. The chests are a total pain to loot. It's all the way on that corner edge of the map. I'm not a big fan, but I will say, if you do know how to loot those chests, there are a ton here. Also, it's just like a cargo dock. Like, it's just kind of boring. At number 107 is Steamy Springs, and I gotta be honest with you guys, this one pains me to put this low, because I am such a lover of Chapter 4 Season 2, and I love that whole, like, cherry blossom aesthetic that Steamy Springs entailed, but it's just, it's so mid. Like, everybody was landing in Mega City. Like, nobody cares about these locations. Anyways, moving on to number 106, that's going to be Chrome Crossroads, and at 105 is Ritzy Riviera. I do actually really like the aesthetic of this location. It's really cool on like the beachfront. Again, though, it's just too vertical for me. I don't think vertical plays well in Fortnite. Like, looking up and down versus horizontal is just night and day, in my opinion, when you're trying to loot and fight at these places. And honestly, Chapter 5 did have a decent selection of locations, so Ritzy Riviera for me fell to the bottom. At number 104 is Shiny Sound, at 103 is Sleepy Sound, and at 102 is The Sanctuary, and at 101 is Steamy Stacks. So very similarly to Dirty Docks, I don't really care about Steamy Stacks at all. If it didn't come back in Chapter 2, I wouldn't have really cared. I think a lot of people feel the same way. You've got great mobility with the stacks that allow you to glider redeploy, but past that, I don't think anybody really cares about Steamy Stacks. At number 100 is Lonely Labs, at 99 is Breakwater Bay, at number 98 is The Ruins, and at number 97 is Craggy Cliffs. This is honestly a really biased pick. If you told me Craggy Cliffs was one of the worst 20 locations in Fortnite history, I think you could try and make that argument. I just love Craggy Cliffs. This is where me and my squad used to land all the way back in the early days of Chapter 2. This is one of the only locations on this list that I will admit is totally personal bias here. Moving on to our number 96 spot, that's going to be Kenjutsu Crossing from Chapter 4. Number 95 is going to be Snobby Shores. 94 is Doom's Courts. 93 is Frosty Flights. And 92 is Lustrous Lagoon from Chapter 3. So yeah, I mean, if you guys can tell, I was not a big fan of the Chapter 3 map at all, and of course, that's just my personal preference. Your list might look entirely different. And I especially was not a fan of the Chrome locations, but I think Lustrous Lagoon is one of the few that I actually really enjoy landing at. It's really cool how you're like inside of like the massive crater. The Chrome looks beautiful. You have the ship, which is almost an homage to Lazy Lagoon, I think it was, from Chapter 1. It's super unique, right? There's really no location in Fortnite history like Lustrous Lagoon, and I will give it a lot of credit for that. At number 91 is Brutal Beachhead from Chapter 5 Season 3. Yeah, you know, guys, I'll be honest with you, I was not a fan of any of the Chapter 5 Season 3 locations, except for one, which you will see much, much higher up on this list. They're just boring. Like I don't care about Brutal Beachhead. I really don't. I hate the sandy location. I can't stand it. It was home of Megalodon, I guess, so cool. Anyways, on to number 90 is Hunter's Haven. Number 89 is Polar Peak. Number 88 is Pleasant Piazza. And at 87 is Chonker Speedway from Chapter 3. I think Chonker Speedway is cool. Again, I wasn't a fan of many of the Chapter 3 locations, but look, like, it's a raceway. It's a neat location. At number 86 is Condo Canyon. At 85 is Cloudy Condos. And at 84 is Slappy Shores from Chapter 4. I actually want to go on record and say that Slappy Shores is actually a criminally underrated location. I don't think it got enough love in Chapter 4, but it really should have. It almost kind of reminds me of like Misty Meadows a little bit. Like, Slappy Shores is split by the bridge in the middle, and on one half you have all of like the houses, and then the other half you have the factory, of course split by the bridge, and then you have the capture point that you can capture. I really enjoyed Slappy Shores, and I know a lot of you guys did as well. At number 83 is the Pyramid, at 82 is the Convergence, and at 81 is Relentless Retreat. If you want to talk about like beautiful looking locations, Relentless Retreat is one of them, and honestly, just in the greater schemes of Chapter 4, all the locations look beautiful. They look amazing. While, at least for me personally, I felt like Relentless Retreat always was kind of in the shadows to Eclipsed Estate. It was still a really cool location with a ton of chests. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say about it. You guys are going to hear me repeat myself a bunch in this video. And next, we have 4 locations, again, that are extremely similar to each other. At number 80 is Ruined Reels. At 79 is Restored Reels. At 78 is Rocky Reels. And at 77 is Risky Reels. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys are even able to distinguish which one is which. Of course, Ruined Reels and Restored Reels are from the current Chapter 5 map. 78 Rocky Reels, that's the sandy version from the Chapter 3 map. And then Risky Reels, of course, search 7 chests at Risky Reels. We all know that one, of course, from Chapter 1. At the number 76 spot is Snooty Steps, Peter Griffin. That's all I really have to say about this one. At number 75 is Grand Glacier. At 74 is Holly Hedges. At 73 is Reality Falls. At 72 is the Doomstat. And at 71 is Shifty Shafts. This is definitely the most controversial pick up to this point in the video. I just don't understand what people love about Shifty Shafts. There's always a group of people that I talk to that love this location. I didn't like it in Chapter 1, and I didn't like it when it came back in Chapter 3. I really just don't understand what the obsession is with Shifty Shafts. Anyways, at number 70 is Lucky Landing, and at number 69 is Freaky Fields. Yeah, obviously this is an entirely troll pick. If I was actually ranking Freaky Fields, it would probably be in the bottom 10. This location sucks. I really just, Epic Games knows what they were doing, naming Freaky Fields like this. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious, and yeah, it's at our number 69 spot for a reason. Moving on to number 68 is Brutal Bastion from Chapter 4, and this is actually a great location. I feel like this is like the turning point in my list where you start to get into some solid locations, some locations that you will absolutely drop and find a couple people and have success landing at and come out with great loot. The only problem with Brutal Bastion is it's almost actually too big. Like, you could be fighting someone in Brutal Bastion and they could just kind of get lost. Like, it's really that big of a location. There is a couple launch pads to kind of help you traverse the location, but I don't know, it just feels too big for me. The chests are too spread out, you know? At number 67 is the Flutter Barn. At 66 is Tainted Towers. That was, of course, the Chrome version of Tilted Towers. And at number 65 is Colossal Coliseum from Chapter 2, Season 5. I think this is actually a great idea for a location. I just think it was executed poorly. I will say the theming on this POI is sick. Like, when you step inside of it, especially if you're like 1v1ing another player, you genuinely feel like you're inside of like an ancient Roman Colosseum. But for practical purposes, for looting purposes, it's a total nightmare. There's like 3 different levels. It's super confusing. I don't know. I wasn't personally the biggest fan of Colossal Coliseum, but I know a lot of people were. At number 64 is Hazy Hillside. At 63 is Happy Hamlet, and at 62 is Coney Crossroads. So yeah, look at that. A Chapter 3 POI almost in the top 50 POIs in Fortnite history. Coney Crossroads to me almost is like the Chapter 3 version of like Retail Row or Salty Springs. It's just a super well-balanced POI with all the chests in a super small contained area, so it's really easy to loot and loot fast. And you have a great physical location on the map. At number 61 is Sweaty Sands. Again, another location that I know so many people love, but I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm not too high on Sweaty Sands. I don't know, personally to me it just feels like a worse version of Paradise Palms, but of course you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about Sweaty Sands. At number 60 is Starry Suburbs from Season X. And if you have no idea what this POI even is, I honestly wouldn't be that surprised. It was only in the game for like the last 2 weeks of Season X, and that's absolutely a travesty. If you don't know, like, it would drop these stars that would come in from the sky and you could open them and they would just give you loot. Famously, at the time, this was the only possible way that you could find the legendary TAC SMG. It had to drop from a star at Starry Suburbs. It had a pretty poor physical location on the map and there wasn't that many chests, but I don't know, it was just a very cozy landing spot and I absolutely love Starry Suburbs. And alright, I actually decided for the sake of just like making it easier for me to rank, I ranked all of the farms right next to each other. So I'm about to rattle off all the farms and I'll kind of go back and explain certain picks. So here we go. At 59 is Corny Crops. At 58 is Colossal Crops, both from, I believe, Chapter 2. At 57 is Anarchy Acres. At 56 is Frenzy Fields. At 55 is Frenzy Farm. 54 is Corny Complex. 53 is Fencing Fields. 52 is Fatal Fields. I mean, all the farm, frenzy, fields, all this type of stuff made it an absolute nightmare for me to remember actually what these locations were. They're all kind of the same same thing. They're just big spread out farms. Frenzy Fields is the Chapter 4 farm. I felt like that's a little bit of a weak farm. At 54 was Corny Complex, which I actually thought was really cool. It was almost like a futuristic farm. Fencing Fields is Chapter 5's version of the farm, and it's actually really cool. It's a high octane location. Everyone always seems to meet up at Fencing Fields and fight. It also has a ton of loot, and it's not just a farm, right? You have that massive building in the middle. And obviously, Fatal Fields is the best farm out of all of them. I don't think there's going to be a lot of disagreement there. At number 51 is Grim Gate, and at number 50 is Caddy Corner. While yes, Caddy Corner in, I believe it was Chapter 2, Season 3, was it, right? Dropped Kit's Shockwave Launcher and Kit's Charge Shotgun, which were both incredible mythic items. This honestly shouldn't even be a named location. It's just a tiny couple buildings, and that's it. There are so many more unnamed locations that have twice, 3 times as many chests as this POI did, but those 2 mythics honestly carry it this high up to the list. At number 49 is Brawler's Patch, and at 48 is Brawler's Battleground. So of course, Brawler's Patch is just the like Halloween version, decorated version of Brawler's Battleground. And of course, Brawler's Battleground is the home of Ares. I think a lot of people at the beginning of Chapter 5 Season 2 did really like Brawler's Battleground, but once they realized that his medallion is essentially useless, I think a lot of people stopped landing here, especially because 9 times out of 10, you are never going to get the zone when you land here. Anyways, moving on to number 47, that's going to be Reckless Railways from Chapter 5. It's a solid location, right? I mean, it's really just a train station with a ton of really closely knit buildings, and that's good, right? When you have a lot of buildings in a small area, you get a ton of chests that you can loot very quickly and very easily, right? Like, why do you think people love Tilted Towers so much? At number 46 is Salty Towers from Chapter 2 Season 5. So yeah, I mean, if you don't know what this location is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It is a literal half and half split of Salty Springs and Tilted Towers. Unfortunately, I think this is a better idea like in practice than how it actually played out. The sand was like really like hilly almost, and I don't know, I feel like the build grid here was so messed up with like the buildings. It just felt all weird. Again, I think this is a better idea like in your head than it actually is in the game. At number 45 is going to be Mega Mall from Season 9. I am like Retail Row's #1 supporter, but I will stand on it and say that Mega Mall is significantly worse than Retail Row. It was essentially just a futuristic version of Retail Row. That's really all it is. It really only had significant changes in the actual retail shop side. That was entirely new. The houses side, where I normally land on retail, stayed the same. It has an absolute metric ton of chests. You have great mobility with the slipstreams, I believe they were called, and the theming's cool. I like the theming. At number 44 is the Raft. At 43 is Sanguine Suites, and at 42 is Lavish Lair. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I think this is the point where now you're starting to get some of the great Fortnite locations. They're still not top tier. I would give them, like if I was doing a tier list, like your B+ tier. Very solid locations, and I think Lavish Lair fits that like B+ tier almost perfectly. Like I think in Chapter 5, Lavish Lair is one of the more popular locations. Like if you go back and watch any YouTube videos from Chapter 5, I feel like 9 out of 10 times, for some reason, they just end up at Lavish Lair. It's a super cool POI. At my number 41 spot on this list is Herald's Sanctum. Again, I know I said earlier, I really didn't like the Chapter 3 map that much. I didn't really like the Chrome POIs, but this location was incredible. I think it's really helped out by the Herald's Mythic Burst Assault Rifle. That thing is an absolute unit of a weapon, and most people would land here just to try and get that rifle and get out. It's like the Herald's location, right? It's this grand like throne, almost kind of like a Chrome version of the Citadel. Think about it that way. Extremely rare Chapter 3 W, I'll say that. At number 40 is the Yacht. So yeah, you'll notice this is the first Chapter 2 Season 2 location on this list, or I guess any of the new locations that were added in that season, and I'm personally just not a fan of the Yacht. It's way too far out, like literally as far out in the Fortnite map as you can get. It's not even on the map, it's literally in the ocean. Not really that many chests, and honestly the only reason you're landing here is for Meowscles Mythic Rifle. At number 32 is Neo Tilted. I remember like the outcry when Neo Tilted launched in Season 9. So many people hated this location, but I think as time has passed and you look back on it, you realize Neo Tilted was a really cool POI. A futuristic version of Neo Tilted is super cool. You have all these like like fluorescent lights, all these blimps flying around everywhere. You got the slipstreams. But unfortunately, I think there is a better city location with fluorescent lights on this list. Cough, cough, Mega City. At number 38 is the Rig. It's a good location. Unfortunately, I think the Rig is brought down by TNTina's Kaboombo, which is one of the worst mythics from Chapter 2, Season 2. The aesthetic and vibe here is super cool. Like, you genuinely feel like you are out in the ocean by yourself on an oil rig. They did a great job with that. I will say the Rig can kind of be a pain in the butt to kind of loot around, right? The chests are everywhere. At number 37 is Lazy Lagoon, and at 36 is Slurpy Swamp. I actually love Slurpy Swamp. I have such fond memories of like sitting in zone as long as possible in the slurp water while fishing like an infinite amount of fish to try and win the game. There were so many cool challenges you could do at Slurpy Swamp. One thing is for certain, if you land at Slurpy Swamp, you know you are going to come out of there with 100 health and 100 shield at all times, and that's a great feeling. Moving on to my number 35 spot on this list, that's going to be Tilted Town. Tilted Town is actually a really important location in Fortnite history. This was really the first iteration of Zero build in Fortnite. This location almost has everything you could ask for. It has incredibly unique aesthetic and theming. You're literally in the Wild West. It's also incredibly unique because you could not build when you were in this location. Remember, Zero build didn't exist at the time. It switched up the entire loophole by making it so that you could only get Wild West weapons, so like the pump shotgun, the infantry rifle, dynamite, 6-shooter, stuff like that. And it is located like right smack dab in the middle of the map. This location honestly has everything. Just a really rare Season X Rift Zone W here. Anyways, moving on to number 34 is Lazy Links. 33 is Covert Cavern. 32 is Command Cavern. 31 is Rave Cave, of course, all those from Chapter 3, and number 30 is Greasy Grove. While Taco Time Greasy Grove is the worst location in Fortnite history, regular Greasy Grove is actually far from that, and I think there's going to be some people that are going to argue to me that Greasy Grove should actually be even higher on this list, maybe under 20s. I was personally more of a Retail Row, Salty Springs, Pleasant Park kind of guy, but I know there were a lot of squads that loved landing at Greasy Grove, and for a good reason. It's a great location. At our number 29 spot on this list, guys, that's going to be the Nitrodrome, and I really hate everything about Chapter 5 Season 3, but the Nitrodrome is the only exception, really. Honestly, before I made this video, I really thought it was the Nitrodome for, like, my entire existence on this planet, but it's actually the Nitrodrome. Go look it up. I hate to give it credit, but I guess I do have to kind of give some of these Chapter 5 Season 3 locations credit for their mythic cars, which were literally guaranteed wins in the early part of Chapter 5 Season 3. But this location is cool. Like, the Nitrodrome is genuinely cool. You actually do feel like you are fighting in the middle of like a monster truck arena. It's awesome. Anyways, guys, let's move on to number 28, which is Doom's Domain from Chapter 2, Season 4. It is essentially a one-of-one copy to Pleasant Park, except for a couple buildings that are changed. And then, of course, the soccer field is opened up, and under that is the vault and a chopper and all that type of stuff. If you are the sole survivor in Doom's Domain, you would get 2 mythic abilities, an entire vault's worth of loot. I mean, you are going to come out of here absolutely stacked. Pleasant Park is an incredibly popular location, so it shouldn't be any surprise to anybody to see Doom's Domain this high up on the list. At number 27 is the Fortilla, and number 26 is Mount Olympus. Straight up, like, Mount Olympus is one of the coolest Fortnite locations we've ever gotten. Looting this location is an absolute pain, and I don't think the Huntress DMR, at least Zeus's Huntress DMR, is really that great, and his medallion. But the aesthetic absolutely carries this location. Like, when you land here, you genuinely feel like you're one of the gods. You are in the sky. It just feels different landing here. At number 25 is Faulty Splits. Like, please show me some Faulty Splits love in the comment section. It's one of my favorite Chapter 4 locations. At number 24 is the Authority, and at 23 is Misty Meadows. I love Misty Meadows. It is one of, if not my favorite location in all of Chapter 2, and I'm so glad they brought it back for remix. I don't really have a lot to say about Misty Meadows. I absolutely love it. There's so many chests. There's that big lake you can go fishing, and you're right next to Lazy Lake. I mean, this location literally has everything going for it. And at number 22 is Castle Doom. And honestly, this may be the largest location in Fortnite history. It is just this grand, like, Doom's castle. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's his grand palace. I will say, like, I don't think his pistol is anything crazy. I will say the Siphon Medallion is very good. But, like, truly, just the size of this location is honestly something to marvel at. At number 21 is Anvil Square, at number 20 is Lazy Lake, and at number 19 is Gotham City. So yeah, honestly, a collab location making it this high on the list. I mean, we don't really see many DC collaborations, it's mainly all Marvel, but the few DC collabs they do, like Gotham City, is absolutely perfect, totally nailed it out of the park. It is essentially just like tilted, reskinned to look like Gotham City from the Batman movies. It's really cool, like when you land here, your glider automatically turns into like the Batman glider. You also get Batman's grapnel gun and his other mythics at this location, and it's like super dark and stormy, like it's just really cool vibes here. Anyways, moving on to number 18 is the Underworld, and at number 17 is Eclipse Estate. So finally some chapter 4 love on this list. I'm just going to be flat out honest with you, like Eclipse Estate is one of my favorite locations I've ever landed at in Fortnite, and honestly, I'm trying my best to put like my own personal bias aside, but it was really hard to not put this within the top 10. It is a beautiful location. It has such a cool meaning to the storyline. Being able to like go in there and actually like steal the mythics and then all the lights shine red and everyone's trying to come after you. Really cool idea. I absolutely love this location. You can just hear how passionate I am about it. But let's move on to number 16. That's Salty Springs. Yeah, honestly, I don't really have to say a lot here. You guys know Salty Springs. 95% of Fortnite players have dropped here. Absolutely love it. It's been in multiple chapters for a reason. And yeah, it's a really solid location. And now we are at the top 15. I genuinely think at this point in the list, all of these locations, number 1 through 15, and even maybe extend that to number 20, could be named the best Fortnite location on any given day. They are incredible spots to drop S-tier locations. And at that number 15 spot is the Daily Bugle, and fun fact, this is actually the only Fortnite POI in history with 3 names in it, or I guess 3 words. You get what I'm saying, right? But this is the home of Spider-Man. It's in all the Spider-Man movies. You can find his mythic web shooters everywhere around here, which you guys know my thoughts on that. It is one of the best mythics of all time. This is yet another collaboration location that they nailed out of the park. Also, editor Ty here, I don't know why I decided to pick right now to say this, but I'm totally realizing that I forgot to put Pandora from Season X, so yeah, another forgotten POI, sorry about that. There's like no one central spot that lists literally every single Fortnite POI correctly. I had to go to like 7 different sources, so cut me some slack here. At number 14 is The Block, and I'm sure most of you guys probably forgot this even existed. The Block was basically like a mega advertisement for creative, and it worked. The Block was so cool. You had like a new location, I think it was every week, honestly, that was built by a Fortnite fan. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the niche reasons why The Block doesn't exist. I don't really want to speak on any of that. If you want to learn more about that, you know, viewer discretion, of course, but go look that up. Or if you'd like to see me make a video on the entire history and downfall of The Block, I'd like to talk about that as well. So let me know in the comment section if you want to see that video. But anyways, moving on to number 13 is the Ice Isle, and number 12 is the Shark. And before you attack me in the comment section, give me a minute to just speak my piece here. As of this video being recorded, the Ice Isle has only been out for a couple of days, and honestly, not many people like this location. I'm seeing a ton of hate for it. But besides like the art design of it, it is essentially the exact same one-to-one remake of the Shark. So I just put them back to back right next to each other. The regular Shark is obviously significantly better. I think Sky's Mythic AR and her Infinite Grappler are better than Ice Spice's Icy Grappler and her Assault Rifle. I still cannot believe I'm talking about Ice Spice in Fortnite. It's absolutely ridiculous. At my number 11 spot on this list is the Citadel. In my opinion, this is the second best Chapter 4 location. I mean, at the beginning of Chapter 4, there was nowhere else you wanted to land but the Citadel. You wanted to get that mythic Shockwave Hammer. You wanted to get the Ageless Champion's Excalibur Rifle. Like, this is the grand medieval home of the Ageless Champion, and this location absolutely lives up to it. It's surrounded by this big, like, moat of water. It's such a great medieval location. They absolutely nailed it out of the park with the Citadel, and honestly, I don't really have anything else to say about this location. I absolutely love it, though. Moving on to the top 10, at that number 10 spot is Pleasant Park. Look, an absolutely classic Fortnite location, one of the OG ones, and certainly one of the best. There really shouldn't be any arguing here. At the number 9 spot is the Spaghetti Grotto, and at the number 8 spot is just the regular grotto. Again, this is the same deal with the Shark and Ice Spice's Shark. They are, at their core, the exact same location, just the Spaghetti Grotto is themed around Eminem, and the grotto is just, well, regularly the grotto. Back in Chapter 2, Season 2, like, everybody was going to the grotto, everybody was hunting down Brutus's minigun, and then what would you do? You would just rotate to Retail Row and just destroy everybody there. Grotto's super cool, like, it's just like this hidden, like, underwater base. Really, really cool location here. At number 7 is Retail Row. So again, more of the same from Salty Springs, Greasy Grove, Pleasant Park, one of the core Fortnite locations. Honestly, I would consider those like the big core 4 or core 5 if you wanted to throw in Tilted Towers. Retail Row is just a great location. It's one of my favorites of all time, and that's why it's so high on this list. Like, I've never heard anybody actually talk bad about Retail Row, and you absolutely will never hear me talking down on Retail Row. What a location. At number 6 is the Dog Pound, and at number 5 is the Agency. Again, like, I sound like a broken record here, but same thing with the Grotto and the Spaghetti Grotto, Ice Spice and the Shark, the Dog Pound, and the Agency. Personally, I just like the Agency, and honestly, all of the original Chapter 2 Season 2 locations for how they felt like integrated into the storyline versus really just being advertisements and like big collaborations. Like, it's Snoop Dogg versus Midas. Like, I don't know, I'm going with Midas. For real, all intents and purposes, besides Stark Industries, this is really the Tilted Towers of Chapter 2. That's what the Agency was. But since we're talking about Tilted Towers, let's just talk about it at the number 4 spot. It is probably the most iconic location in Fortnite history. I literally have an entire video on my channel dedicated just to the evolution of Tilted Towers because it has been in like every single chapter of Fortnite, basically. It has evolved so much, it has changed so much, but at its core, it is the Tilted Towers. It's the spot to land in Fortnite. If you want to fight, like, go watch any old Fortnite gameplay. It is all Tilted Towers. And honestly, I'm sure many of you guys probably thought it would be the number 1 spot on this list, but there are truly 3 locations that I believe beat it out. At the number 3 spot is going to be Mega City. Mega City is literally Tilted Towers on steroids. Like, it is literally like 4 times the size of Tilted Towers. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I know we've had a lot of big POIs on this list, but Mega City may be the biggest. But that is like a little bit faulty because like 90% of this POI, you can't even go inside. Like the skyrise buildings, you can only go inside like the first 2 or 3 floors. And other than that, you just have to zip line all the way to the top. I genuinely believe this is the best location we got in Chapter 4. And I think a lot of us took Mega City for granted. At the number 2 spot on my list is going to be Paradise Palms. I love Paradise Palms. I, from day 1, was on the stand that Paradise Palms is better of a location than Tilted Towers was. The only reason that Paradise Palms doesn't get as much love as Tilted Towers does is because of its location. It's kind of off to the corner in that desert part of the map. If you took Paradise Palms and put it in Tilted Towers' physical location on the map, it would be 10 times more popular. Like a really cool, like, desert, beachy, kind of like resort vibe. Just great vibes here, and so many chests. I can't even, there has to be like 30 to 40 chests here. It is an absolutely unbelievable location, but it is slightly beat out. At our number 1 spot on this list, out of 153 plus locations, I believe that Stark Industries is the best location we have ever seen in the game. You get 2 fantastic Iron Man mythics. You have to remember how good the Unibeam was at the time. You have a vault. You have the incredible Stark Industries cars. You had the Stark Industries rifle, which dropped here, which you got to remember in Chapter 2, this thing was absolutely busted. The whole upstate New York biome, I actually ranked as the best biome in Fortnite history. And Stark Industries just feels like it encapsulates all of that. So much good loot. I mean, honestly, if I remember correctly, I think you also had a vault there. Like, there is nothing more that you could ask for than a location in Stark Industries. And yeah, I genuinely believe it is the best location in Fortnite history. So, wow, if you are listening to this part of the video right now, if you watched all the way through this video, that was a long one, so thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your continued support to the channel, whether this is your first video of mine that you're seeing or you've been here since like 100 subscribers. I honestly cannot thank you guys enough, and come along for the ride as we now push towards 100,000 subscribers. I have a crazy video idea planned for that that's even crazier than this video. So if you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that we can get there. I really want that plaque so badly, and I will do whatever it takes for you guys to get there. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave it a like, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.